Hey guys, welcome to the channel. So today we're going to be talking about the YP Xplor fork and some issues that I've been having with them and how I diagnosed it and then resolved it and some quick fixes. I just want to say I was like right on the verge of buying the whole replacement valving for the YP4, so you can adjust both compression and recoil on both sides of the fork. That's like a $400 or $500 job there, so this cost me significantly less, and hopefully it'll give you some ideas about where you could potentially start before you went and upgraded the forks completely. So basically the problem I was having is the bike's only 20 hours old. It's only sort of just come out of the dealership, and I made no significant adjustments on the bike prior to taking it out into the bush. And while I was out in the bush, I just found my suspension, regardless of how many clicks I was going, and I was making some pretty aggressive click changes that you should notice a difference. I was feeling no difference, particularly in the recoil of my suspension, and it was almost like riding a pogo stick. Am I a pro rider? No. Am I a mechanic? Also no. Am I at least a good rider? Probably not. Here I've got some like really rough drawings. On the left is the KTM valve, okay, and that's a top-down view. So that sits inside your fork, and then these little holes here are the actual oil valves, and then on top of that valve you've got the shim. Now it's kind of like this weird triangle shape, and I'll show you exactly what it looks like in a second, but that sits over top of these small little 3-hole valves. Now on the right here I've got something that's like, you know, a standard one for a Japanese bike, say like a Honda. Typically have 4 valve holes from what I understand. Again, this is a top down, and then the shims that sit on top of them, or the washers that sit on top of them, is just a really thin sort of O-ring shaped one. So KTM or YP have gone with, you know, sort of over-engineered it a bit with these cool triangle looking ones. And just to help you understand, that's like a side view of the valve itself. So it's sitting inside your fork cylinder, and then oil's moving between that. When I removed all of those triangular shims out of the fork itself, I found the problem that one of the shims was incorrectly aligned, was 15 degrees off. So I put the shims all back on, correctly inserted it all back onto the valve, back into the forks, put the fork back on, and played around with the fork. And I was noticing that there was an improvement, but it was very, very incremental. So here's the shim that caused me all the problems. So this is just one of them. There is actually 4 of them in total, all stacked on top of each other, and you can see it has that triangular shape, and each one of those triangle corners will cover one of the oil wells in that valve itself. And here's just your traditional shim itself. Now the difference with this one is it's a little bit more tense, so it's quite a lot less flexible than say this one. So to fix it, I went back to the traditional shim, which is the circular one, and stacked 4 of them on top of each other and put that in. Now that traditional shim is a little bit more tense than the triangular styled one, and so once I put the fork back together, every time I would adjust a click, I got a really noticeable change. So I was getting really great compression, and I wouldn't have to make monstrous adjustments like 3 or 6 clicks at a time just to notice a slight change, which was what was happening when I had the much more sort of malleable triangular shims in it. So that's basically how I fixed the bike.